Hello and welcome. My name is Roger Quayle, and you are listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. Hi there, and welcome back to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. I'm your host, Roger Quayle, and we are on to Gig 8. Today I'm going to tell you about a Sheffield musician called Frank White. Frank was on the Sheffield scene for years and years, and is something of a local legend. Today's post is about my encounter with him at the Broadfield pub in the summer of 1978. So here we go. My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts, Gig 8, Frank White at the Broadfield pub, Sheffield, on Saturday, the 12th of August, 1978. Nine across. Frank Zappa's got one. 10 letters. Above my head, 10,000 tiny mice tap dance on the tin roof. It's raining again. I'm in a 4-berth caravan, hunched over the enemy, trying to finish the crossword. Apostrophe. Cracked it. It's been a good week, steering a rickety, bone-shaker bicycle across the endless green bays of Lincolnshire. Dad seeking sanctuary with rod and reel. Mum having a knit and a natter with the other angling widows back at the campsite. But I'm ready for home now. I'm missing my schoolmates, my bandmates, and I'm missing music. My one sortie to Skegness Market has resulted in the purchase of the debut album, on cassette, by a US rock band called The Outlaws. The Outlaws are a sort of recalcitrant redneck version of the Eagles. Outlaws have 3 guitarists and a marathon song called Green Grass and High Tides. Basically, they make Lynyrd Skynyrd look like the Ramones. Summer of 1978 and the rise of the Brothers Ramone and their caustic cohorts are supposed to have inoculated my generation with the short, sharp spike of punk. But the unreconstructed progger in me still longs for long. Long isn't wrong. Long is good. Back in Sheffield, I call band buddy Vinner from the phone box on the appropriately named Dial Way. Plans are made. Frank White at the Broadfield. Tonight. Free in. 2p well spent. I've heard Frank White on many occasions. He has a residency at a pub close to home called The Pheasant. Hanging around the nearby chipper, I've heard an urgent, restless thrum from inside the lounge, bursting into a vigorous, rasping yowl when the heavy oak doors swing open or one of the bar staff opens the off-licence window. Blues singer, guitar slinger, that's Frank White. We're in the Broadfield in Healy on the other side of town, and Vinner's telling me what I've missed while I've been away. All the lads went to see a band called The Push at the Limit. Really good by all accounts, and they are playing there again soon, with that weird band, Cabaret Voltaire. We make a mental note to check it out. The Broadfield, an old Victorian boozer with an adjacent music room, is pretty quiet for a Saturday night. It's coming to the end of the annual Works fortnight, when the steel foundries close, and the working folk of Sheffield head for Cleethorpes or Bridlington for their summer holidays. Frank steps up onto the low stage with his rhythm section, Kenny Slade on drums and Malcolm Hooley on bass, and they spark up the chicken strut groove of Not Fade Away. As synonymous with Sheffield pubs as Ward's Best Bitter and Pork Scratchings, it's just another Saturday night for him. Yet he toured Europe in the 60s with another local hero, Dave Berry, and has been teen screamed at from Rotherham to Rotterdam. Frank's solo debut album, Nice to Be On Your Show, was released in 1973 on Fantasy Records, the home of Creedence Clearwater Revival. He's played with Carl Perkins, Albert Lee, and the Crickets. He's been there, done that, and is using the t-shirt as an oily rag. So what's a sweetheart like Frank doing in a dump like this? There are enough myths and legends surrounding Frank White to give Homer a sequel to the Odyssey. That the Rolling Stones wanted him in the band when Mick Taylor left. That Elvis saw him on Shindig and was digging his playing. That, off the record, is Eric Clapton's favourite guitarist. That he could have been the first white guy signed to Motown. That his mate Joe Cocker wanted him for the Grease Band, and that he had the first twin-neck electric guitar in Europe before Jimmy Page. Well, that one is true. Also, no one knows exactly how old he is. For his part, Frank has rejected the conjecture. Only he knows the truth. He's put aside the chance of fame and fortune in favour of family and faith. The king of the Don Valley Delta blues counts off Blue Moon of Kentucky. He understands that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just keep the axle greased and let it roll on down Route 66. Or the A57, if that happens to be closer. We are lapping this up. He looks comfortably into his 30s, positively prehistoric through our 17-year-old eyes. He's been playing since before we were born, and if Johnny B. Goode played guitar just like ringing a bell, then Frank White is peeling like St. Paul's Cathedral on VE Day. He brings it to a close with a show-stopping 15-minute rendition of Chuck Berry's Roll Over Beethoven. Here is a song written by a man born during the Prohibition era, about a dead German guy who's been gone for 150 years. First released during the Suez Crisis, being sung by a Sheffield war baby that's resonating with two teenage lads. There's been something of a rock and roll rebirth in the mid-70s. David Essex in That'll Be the Day. Pop and roll in the shape of Shuwadi and Mud. Revivalist starts are in the charts with The Boy from New York City. If Frank is aware of any of this, he doesn't show it. He's not riding a wave, old or new. No fuss or flannel, he's simply a channel for rhythm and blues. And he's been this way since Bill Haley first rocked around the clock, and it comes as naturally to him as breathing. Frank's Roll Over Beethoven is a bravura display of rock and roll Jenga. Build up the drama, let 'em tremble, knock it back down to the drums, and ratchet it all back up again. Repeat as necessary for extra intensity. After two false endings, Frank White brings in Chuck Berry's big old ode to Ludwig VB for a smoking landing. One song, a quarter of an hour long. Long isn't wrong. Long is good. Right, says Vinner, with the conviction of the recently converted. We're nicking that. Frank White's residency at the Pheasant lasted 19 years, and he continues to play the pubs and clubs around Sheffield. Frank gives his age as 37 plus VAT. Thank you for listening. This is My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts with your host, Roger Quayle. I'll see you again soon for another episode. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.